Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the third webinar on the WEkEO DIAS. Today we'll be talking about the WEkEO infrastructure. Let me just show you quickly the agenda. So we have an hour and 15 minutes filled for you, where we'll have several speakers that will discuss and show you what you can do with the WEkEO infrastructure. We have here today Fabrice Messel, as he works at Mercator Océan International, where he's a training and educational manager. After 6 years of developing partnerships and projects in the frame of the Mercator Océan outreach activities, he's currently in charge of training activities for the Copernicus Marine Environment Monitoring Service. Fabrice has a background in science and applications and numerical imagery, and has professional experience in visualization software development and scientific mediation. Next up are our colleagues from the WEkEO user support, Karine Kwang, who is a scientific engineer working on Earth observation projects, from where she's involved in the WEkEO user support, and Amin El Amrani, who is a satellite imagery expert, and he is experienced in all of your technical questions, so will be often your main point of contact for any of the technical issues that you may or may be facing. So what's exactly on the agenda today? We'll start with just a very brief introduction on the WEkEO DIAS for those of you that have not participated before in a webinar, or to just recap and refresh your minds about what the WEkEO DIAS is and what it does. Then Fabrice will give a live demonstration of the WEkEO website, show you where everything is, what plans are available to use the WEkEO infrastructure. And then Amin will go into depth and demonstrate you how to download data using a Jupyter notebook, or how to download data using a WEkEO virtual machine. And finally, Karine will give an overview of the help desk services that are available to you. And at the end of our session, we'll be having a short Q&A for all of you. And regarding the Q&A, I just want to point out a few instructions on how to ask any questions. So you see here on the right side a chat window where you can ask questions. If you have a question, please mark it with the question mark as such. And then the questions during the Q&A session, either they will be answered throughout the session in the chat window itself, or we will take them up at the end of the session and answer them live. Any of the questions that will be answered live will show up on the screen as shown here on the slide. And if there are any other questions that aren't answered, please don't hesitate to reach out to us afterwards for any more questions, especially when you start also working with the WEkEO DIAS. I will now turn to a presentation on the WEkEO DIAS and just quickly give you a brief overview on the WEkEO DIAS itself. So the WEkEO DIAS is one of 5 DIASes that was launched by the European Commission almost two and a half years ago. And the WEkEO DIAS itself is created as a partnership by EUMETSAT, ECMWF, the European Center for Mid-Range Weather Forecasting, European Environment Agency, and Mercator Océan International. They are already heavily involved in Copernicus, in the Copernicus program, and they have partnered up, bring together all of their experience, their skills, their infrastructure to build up WEkEO. And they've been doing it stepwise. So to minimize the risk, they've been developing it throughout the past 2.5 years, reaching out to users, making sure that everything is set up so that the user experience for you is as optimal as possible. We have the 4 main partners who are also, as I mentioned, involved in the Copernicus program, responsible for some of the Copernicus services, and therefore producing data. Their data are put together with other data from the Copernicus program, for example, from the Sentinel satellite imagery. And then, of course, the most important parts of a DIAS is also setting up the infrastructure, providing users with tools, doing user training, development, managing them, providing any support that you might need, and also offering a marketplace for when you want to develop a commercial service using the Copernicus data and information. The benefit of using a DIAS is that you have a single access point for all of the Copernicus data and information. So the Copernicus services, the Copernicus Sentinel satellite imagery, you can find them all in one spot. On top of that, you also have cloud-based processing for you available, and any tools that you might need to process the Copernicus data and information, and thereby making it easier for you to develop something without downloading data from several data access points, without installing software on your own computer, without requiring you to build up your own server. All of that is available in one place for you on the WEkEO DIAS. And then, of course, to help you get started, to help you develop things, there's a very strong user support service available to you as well. One of the main assets, or a few of the main assets of the WEkEO DIAS, one of them is that the data is not a copy. So data from the different data access points for the different Copernicus services and Sentinel satellite imagery are not copied to another server, but they are linked from their original data sources, so that you have the most up-to-date information available at all times. As I've mentioned, we have a very strong user support, which will guide you not only through very technical issues on using virtual machines, Jupyter notebooks, but also gathering experts on the data and information itself for any of the questions that you may have. And then the harmonized data access, so coming from the different data access points, there's a harmonized API where you can access all of the information through just the single API. For who do we work? For who are we useful? Of course, there are the institutional users, the main users or the first users of the Copernicus program, which are the member states, any national or international institutions, policymakers who can benefit from the information provided by Copernicus, and any agencies such as the European Environmental Agency or any of the national environmental agencies. It's not only for the public sector, but also for the private sector. Any ranging from large corporations to startups and SMEs, anyone who is interested in using the data in a very easy, harmonized way can access and use the Copernicus DIAS as well. And then, of course, for researchers, research is still a very important part in the Copernicus program. People working on Horizon 2020 projects, the general public, any institutions, NGOs, environmental scientists. The platform has been built in such a way that everyone is able to access the data, and there are different plans available. And Fabrice will give you an overview of exactly how you can find those different plans and find the ones that are of most use to you. Fabrice, over to you.
Hello, Anne-Catherine. Hi, everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning. So I will share my screen to give you this discovering of the platform. Okay. Okay. So this is the website of WEkEO. This is the single access point to access all this amount of data. And I will show you quickly the main part of the website. So this is the home page. And you have on this menu different part. You can access different parts. And for example, let's have a look to this pricing part. So you can have information on this web page on the different plans. So we have an essential plan. This is a free plan. Thanks to this plan, you can discover the data. You can download the data. You can have access to Jupyter notebooks to practice some hands-on exercises. And you can obviously have access to our user support. To have access to this essential plan, you have to register, and this is free for this part. But if you need more resources, more computational resources or storage resources for your activity, you can apply for an advanced plan, which is a pay plan. And on this table, you have information on the different plans. Okay, so regarding the number of CPUs you need, the RAM you need, or the different kind of storage you need to run your computational simulation or codes, you can apply to these different plans. Okay. For some of them, you can have access to a trial period. Okay, 5 months, 3 months, etc. And you can change plans if you need in an easy way. Okay. Let's have a look on the register part. So this is the registration form. This is a very simple form. You can just enter your email address, username, etc. Some information about your organization, and then you can subscribe the plan you need. Okay, so the essential plan, which is free, or the advanced plan. If you choose the advanced plan, here you can choose the size of the plan. Okay, this is other information we need to know exactly what kind of data you're interested by, and then you accept the term of Wikio, and your account is created automatically. Okay, but first you can decide just to have a look on our catalog of data. So let's dive on the catalog. Though this is our viewer, and thanks to this viewer, you can access to the catalog of data by clicking here on the plus icon, and you can sort all the data by type of services, platform, area, tags, and you can choose the data you want to be displayed on the viewer. And then you can see regarding your area of interest and the data available, if you have to download, if you can access the data. Okay, so let's have a look on this catalog. I will make a demo with Sentinel 2 data. Okay, so I choose the data set. Now the products. Okay, and for this data, I have to zoom in this view to have access to the information. Okay, so let's have a look on Spain. Okay. And thanks to this timeline with the time sticks, stick, I can choose the date I need. Okay. So, okay. And for example, I can choose to have a look on this region. This is a region of Madrid. And a few days ago, Madrid was paralyzed by a heavy snowfall. So we are the 1st of January, and for the moment, all is clear. And if I move to the 12th of January, you will see on this region all the result of the snowfall. Okay. Now I can decide to select an area of interest. For example, this one, I can choose to reduce, to play with this region. Okay, this is my region of interest. And now I can choose to subset and download. But first, now to download the data, I have to be registered. So if I click here, the website asks me to sign in. Okay. And once I sign in, I can access to this subsetter. So I can copy, for example, the boundaries of my area of interest directly on this box. I can choose the date I want, the processing level of the Sentinel-2 data, Sentinel-2 products I want. And now I can choose to have access to this API request. In the next presentation by Amin, he will show you how to use this API request in the different Jupyter notebooks, for example, or different other language codes to access the data. So, for example, you have just to copy and paste on your code this part to have access to this data in particular on this box, on this region, and on this timeline. Or you want perhaps to download directly the data. So you have to send a request. Now I go on this tab, Jobs, and the website proposed me to order the different files corresponding to this region at this time. And now I just to order. And now by clicking on this icon, I can download directly the file. Okay, but I'm pretty sure that Amin will show you the different way to access this data on the Jupyter notebooks and directly on your virtual machine. Okay, I think it's fine for me, and I hope I was clear for all of you.
Thank you, Fabrice. Very good introduction to also our next speaker, Amin, because Amin will show you how to further then use and download the data that Fabrice just showed using either a Jupyter notebook or a Wikio virtual machine.
Hello, Anne-Catherine. Good morning, everyone. So in this, actually in the last webinar, I made a general overview of the Jupyter Lab. I talked about the purpose of associating the Jupyter Lab technology to Wikio and how a Jupyter notebook is actually displayed, how it can be filled, the notion of cells, how to plot graphs using the data, and how to display images and to export the notebook to many formats. But today, we will see actually mainly how to query the data using Python with some already available functions on the Jupyter notebook. I don't know, Anna Maria, if you can show the slides, please. Thank you very much. Yes, so actually we will see how some already available functions on the Jupyter notebook can be very useful. But a fair question that you might ask yourselves is why do we need to download, why do we need to use Python or functions or anything, as it is very simple to download the data of the on using the data viewer, as Fabrice was showing. But the thing is, the aim here is to download the data directly to your Jupyter environment or to the VM, and not to your personal computer. So this presents some advantages, like the pieces of code that I will show you are actually reusable. The queries and downloads can be scripted, and variables can be spread through the data description scripts, and it makes the data very flexible, actually, and also to be available on your environments and not in your personal computer to be uploaded afterwards. Okay, so I will share my screen. And I will connect now to the Jupyter environment using my Wikio account. I go quick on the connection part because if you don't know how to do it, I would refer you to the last webinar available on the Wikio YouTube channel, where I talked about this Jupyter environment and how to connect to it, and also the virtual machine. So we will wait for it for a bit. And so as the Jupyter account comes initially, the file I will show you is the Wikio Harmonized Data Access file is available on the public. I'll try to connect again. Something that is not working. But I was saying that the file is available on a folder called the public folder, which is a read-only folder, and we will copy these files to another file folder, as it is not read-only, and we can actually modify it. So we are waiting a little bit for the Jupyter hub to load. Normally it takes less time. Well, I will try to disconnect and reconnect maybe. To not stop here, I will tell you more about what I will do afterwards. So I will try to execute the code that is in this Wikio Harmonized Data Access notebook, and show you how these code cells actually can help you download the Wikio data on your Jupyter notebook, and also modify this code in a way that will allow you to have access to it. So I don't know why this Jupyter actually does not work. It seems to work now. Okay. So as I was saying, when this comes initially, everything is in the public folder. This folder is read-only, so I have copied everything in a folder that I called work. You can call it whatever you want. And in this Wikio Hda folder, you have the Wikio Harmonized data access file. So I will start with this first Python cell where actually we import all the libraries that will be used. You notice that the requests library is also imported. This library provides tools for requesting data and downloading it. And each time I will click this play icon here, a piece of code will be executed. The second piece of code is this HDA API functions that we import. We import this module that contains all the functions that we will be using afterwards. These functions are available in this Python file, and you can see the code source of each function. So if you are familiar with Python, you can use parts of this code to create your own functions, but you can also use them in this simple way. Afterwards, we have this dataset ID variable that we store. Initially, it comes out with a by default dataset ID, but you can choose whatever dataset ID you want, depending on the data that you want to download. So that's where we can use the data viewer that will help us to get this dataset ID. So you can add a layer. We can use Sentinel 2 again. And if you click on details here, you will see the dataset ID that you can copy and that we will store in our variable here. Miss I, and I click the play icon again, so that the line of code is interpreted by Python. Afterwards, we have this username and password part, where we just store our username, Wikio username and Wikio password. I've stored them before in a hidden cell, but you can just write them here and play. Okay, so I need to play this hidden cell here that contains my username and password. That's why it did not work. If I play it again, it works this time. Afterward, we have this API key generation. So basically, it's just a way to encode your username and password into a small code. It uses the base64 encoding. You can whether use this function or use an online base64 encoder to encode your username and password and enter it here. For now, it has been commented out because we use the function to generate it. So sometimes we have this kind of things. Normally, it should work. Maybe I have missed something before. Yes, I have missed this one, which is the HDA API functions import. So if we don't import the functions, it will not. They will not be recognized by Python. So you got to be careful with these kind of things. If I play it again, I have this API key that is generated. And we go to the next cell. So we have this download there path, which is actually, this line sets the download directory path to the current folder with this getcwd statement. But we can choose whatever folder we want. Just make sure that the folder is not read-only, as the public folder was. And we do not forget to play the cell. Okay, so you can see that the downloading folder has been chosen. Next cell, Hda Dictionary Initialization. This function init returns an initiated dictionary, which is basically a multi-dimensional array where many elements are stored. And it is based on the dataset ID, on the API key that we generated, and the downloading path, download folder path that is also used to initialize this dictionary. So we play this one also. And you can print out of curiosity to see what this Hda dictionary contains for now, but it will contain many other information afterwards. Now we need to access to create this access token and to accept the terms and condition as we do with data viewer, but now we are doing it by Python. These two lines allow to ensure that the user accepted the terms and conditions and to get an access token available for 1 hour. And this access token is what gives the permission to request data from the data broker. We play both of them. So we can see our token here. It's not important to keep it in mind, of course, because it's stored in variables. And then you have this this part, which is a little bit tricky, because there are two ways to describe the search criteria. This search criteria is like the date of sensing, the geographic region of the products we look for, and other criteria as the processing level of the bands, etc. And the first option is to read a JSON file that contains this search criteria and to access it by using this piece of code, JSON.load. You can access the JSON file that contains this search criteria, or the second option will be to get a copy, to copy the description file manually by storing the whole API request in a variable, which is namely data here. So that's what we are doing here. We chose the second option, and I can go back to my data viewer here and actually select a region, as did Fabrice a moment ago. So I can choose a region in France like this, and I can add a layer of Sentinel-2 to the map. You can then choose the search criteria. So here I am copying the geographic region that I have chosen. I can choose also the sensing start and stop time of the products I want to download. So I can choose June 23rd to June 25th, for example, to have a sunny image. And the processing level. And then once I have chosen all this, I do not need to request the data and I do not need to download the data using this, but rather show the API request and to copy this description file, information, and store it here in the data variable. Then I need to only play this piece of code and not the other one, as we did not use any JSON file. Afterwards, we need to get this job ID. There is something that is wrong here. Did I forget to play any of the ones before? I don't think so. So there might be a connection problem. We will wait a little bit and play it once again. But we will need this job ID to allow the downloading of the file. So let's wait for it a little bit. It doesn't seem to work. Okay. So maybe what I will do is just clear out all the outputs. So this can be a solution if you have issues. If you clear all the outputs, all the code that I have run before is cleared. So I will play it very quickly from the beginning, in the hope of it working this time. But these kind of things can happen, and it's not a big problem in itself. Okay, the API key. The initialization. We get the access token once again. Accept the term and conditions. And we try this get the job ID again. And this time it works. So maybe there was just a Python bug. So let's go to the next cell now, which is the get results list. This will show you a list of results that were selected by the query. So we have chosen a geographic region, we have chosen the type of data we want to download, and now we will get the results list. So as we can see, there are many Sentinel-2 products that have been found with this research. You can see here items in page 5, and we have 2 pages, total item 9. So it has found 9 Sentinel-2 products that are available using this search criteria. So the thing is, we do not want to download all these products, as it will be quite heavy for this Jupyter environment. So we need to choose maybe 1 or 2 products to download. And that's why I will use this del for delete statement to remove the elements of the array we do not want. So maybe I will put 1 to 5 just to keep the first one. And now if I print the Hda dictionary again, we can see that there is this 31 TCM tile that was kept, and the other ones were deleted out of the results list. Okay, so now I will play this one, the get order IDs. This one is very important, as this function assigns each file found in the results to an order ID. And these order IDs are the elements actually used by the last function to download the data. The last function being download data, which will actually runs the retrieval of the selected order IDs. Okay, so once I use it, the file starts downloading. The file is 800 megabytes, and it is downloaded into your Jupyter Hub environment. which comes very handy if you want to do some processings afterwards. So that's all for the Jupyter Notebook query and download part. Now let's move to the virtual machine data download part. So as shown in these documents, the Hda API documents that you can find in the reference, there is a whole procedure that does the same thing that we have seen in with Python, and that uses the curl command line on the VM virtual prompt. Nevertheless, we decided not to show you this curl command line scheme, as it is quite long or cumbersome, although it works very well. And we will use actually the Python scripts that we have seen in the Jupyter Notebook and use them on the virtual machine using the Python 3 interpreter of the virtual machine. But first of all, we need to find a way to export this code that we have played here to a Python document. And to do that, we will use a Jupyter functionality that allows exporting the document in whatever format. But before exporting, let's make sure that the code is clean enough to be run as a block of the on the Python virtual machine. And to do that, we will start by clearing all the outputs, as I did a moment ago. So I clear all the outputs of the messages that appeared and these kind of things. We don't need them, as we want just pure code. That's our aim. I will maybe comment this try except part, because as I told you, we did not use it. That's all. And maybe save the notebook file if you made any changes on it. Make sure that your username and password are stored in a Python variable. If you did all of this, we can click File, Export Notebook As, and you choose Export Notebook to executable script. A Python executable script will be downloaded to your computer and not a Jupyter Notebook file anymore. And if we open this file, we will see that it was everything that was kept in it was just pure Python code, actually. So I will try opening it. So this is the Jupyter Notebook exported, and you can see that all what is Python was kept, and all the other parts that were markdown language or plain text were commented by the Jupyter Notebook functionality. So this can be used as a pure Python script and can be played directly on Python 3 on any virtual machine, and it will work. So this is very useful to use all the processing and developments that you do on the virtual machine, on the Jupyter Notebook, and play them afterwards on a virtual machine. Okay, so now I will connect to the virtual machine. If you have any doubts about how to get a virtual machine, or have trouble creating an instance, I refer you to the last webinar, webinar number 2, available on the Wikio YouTube channel, and to the docs also. That being said, I use this MobaXterm software. You can download it for free, and I will connect to the instance of the virtual machine offered by Wikio. I connected, and now I need to upload the script that will be used. You can upload in many fashions, but I will use this one. So remember, we are uploading the WEkEO Harmonized data access notebook that was converted to Python, but we also need the other Python functions that were used and which were stored in Hda API functions.py. So we upload them in our virtual machine. So once you have uploaded them, you need to move them to a folder where you want to download your stuff. So I move them this way to folder that I created especially for the webinar. And I will place myself in the folder. So here, be careful to call Python 3 on the script and not Python, because sometimes it refers to Python 2.7. It depends on the machine, but Python 3, because the kernel of the Jupyter Notebook is Python 3 and not Python 2. And we just play this Python script, and you will see that all the steps that I've shown you before are played one after the other. All the code parts are executed one after the other. And the speed is nearly 200 megabytes per second for the download, which is another benefit of getting the data directly into your virtual machine's file storage, because it's always high speed. It does not, it's independent of your internet speed at home or at the office. And so you will benefit from high-speed transfer of data, even if your internet connection is slow. Okay, so now this is the last part. For those of you who are familiar with Sentinel-2 products, the Sentinel-2 product was downloaded 700 megabytes very quickly in 3 seconds. I unzip it. And I display using QGIS, for example. I can display the image that was downloaded. Image data. We can display this true color image, for example. Using X server, so it's not very quick at displaying images. But you can use NX server or other software to get a desktop, which will be quite quicker than Mobile Xdem. So let's wait for it for a couple of seconds. Okay, so here it is. This is an image This is not the best image that we could get, but we actually, in a very quick fashion, downloaded the image of Sentinel-2, and it can be any other Wikio or Copernicus data, of course. Okay, so I stop sharing my screen, and I will just do a small part using Anna Maria, if you can show, please, the presentation. Okay, thank you. Okay, so just to sum up, I will I'd like to end with a summary of the main points. So to choose request and download data, you can use the data viewer, of course, but you can also use the functions available in the Jupyter environment, which is quick, allows more flexibility on the data. If you are familiar with Python, you can break down the source code of the functions and use them in your own scripts. Or you can finally use curl or Python to download the data on your virtual machine with the same possibilities as for the Jupyter environment. Okay, so that's all for me. I pass it on to Anna Maria, and thank you.
Thank you, Amin, for this very detailed introduction to how to download the data and how to use the Jupyter Notebook and Wikio virtual machines. If this has gotten people excited to start using them, perhaps one of the things that you may need or may want to know is a little bit more about the help desk services. So Karin, I'll give you a few minutes to introduce what it is that the user support can do for everyone.
Okay, thank you, Anne-Catherine. So hello everyone, my name is Karin, and thank you, Anna Maria, for the slides. So my name is Karin, and I am responsible for the coordination of the user support service. So I will take you a few minutes now to present you the help desk. So first, to reach us, it's very simple. You can go through the web portal in the support section and fill in the contact form that you can see here, or you can directly send us an email to support@wekeo.eu. So you can contact us for any question, requests, or issues related to the Wikio services. It can be a request for any information regarding the Wikio offer. It can be for a plan upgrade, or because you're just facing a technical issue using the services. In the general manner, here at the help desk, we mainly receive questions related to the Copernicus data, to Jupyter Lab, to the cloud infrastructure if you have a tenant, to your account, of course, and the dashboard, the private dashboard that you have when you registered. And as far as possible, our experts can assist you on the development of tools and applications using the Copernicus data or any tools that are installed in your machines. So behind the Wikio user support service, I like to present people because it's important to show that we are a strong team to assist you for any questions or any issues. So first, at the first level of support, you have the help desk, which is composed of Amin, that you have now, that you know very well, and Jean-Guillaume, which is the second, who is the second support of this help desk. So they will be the main contact for you at the help desk, and Brice and I will be in backup. Brice is the user service manager, and I'm the coordinator, as I said. Behind the help desk, we have a broad panel of technical and scientific experts to support us when your questions are very precise, technical, or are required expertise. So you can see here all the companies and institutions who contribute to the support. So I can cite UMETSAT, ECMWF, and Mercator Océan, of course. You have Cloudflare for the cloud infrastructure support, CS Group, Telespazio, Thales, Alenia Space for the commercial part, GMV, Space Tech, etc. And behind these institutions, you have people. I like to show people. And all these names here are all the people who are behind us to help you. So, well, it's important, again, to show you that the shell is not empty. We have a strong team here for the support. It's really a pillar of the WEkEO TIAS, this user support. So as I have to go fast, I will end this presentation to remind you that you can give us your feedback on the help desk services. And you can score us when you receive the closure notification of your ticket, because when you ask us a question, a ticket is open, it's handled by the support, and when the issue is solved, the ticket is closed and you receive a notification. And in this email, as you can see it here, you can click on the satisfaction level, and if you do so, you will be redirected to the feedback form of the web portal, where you can submit your satisfaction level here, and you can add as well a comment if you want to give us some recommendation or to complain about our services. So this is really important for us to have your feedback, positive or negative, because we really want to improve the quality of our service, and really be sure that your feedback are read by the help desk and analyzed. And in case of negative feedback, we usually come back to you to understand why you have been unsatisfied and what we can do to minimize this unsatisfaction. Sometimes we reopen the ticket because we can bring something else to help you, or we can just bring you some future solutions to avoid these issues in the future. So that's all for me. I thank you for your attention, and Anne-Catherine, I give you the ball back. Thank you.
Thank you, Karine, for showing us or what everyone can ask and do. And we already in the chats got one feedback saying that the help desk is very nice and fast response. So thank you very much also for giving this positive feedback to us. Before we go to the questions, I will just very briefly show you where we're at in terms of the whole webinar program, because this is part of a bigger series. So today we are the third of 12 webinars that we're running from back in December last year to June this year. This is also the last generic webinar where we discussed the WEkEO platform and really just basic information to get started. And now we're going to start diving into more thematic webinars, both for beginners and for experts, which we hope are also very interesting for you, because we'll be going into more detail on certain topics like ocean color, crop mapping, multitemporal vision, so time series, air pollution. And we will be running those webinars both for beginners and experts, with the beginners starting first. So perhaps if you are interested and want to start playing as a beginner, you can then also join later the expert webinar if you want to get to really dive deep into a certain topic. And then we will end at the end of June with a webinar on business applications to further develop your idea. So for the next webinar, the next webinar will be focused on ocean color. It will take place on the 4th of February, also at 11 a.m. Central European time. And you will, as you've registered for this event, you will receive an invitation for the next event in your mailbox. I just want to mention as well that we have some training sessions, some longer training sessions that will be running as well. We have both the training sessions are focused on a specific topic, and then there will be a debrief training a few weeks later that will give you the time to then also work with the data and do the exercises that were presented in the training sessions. And so our next training session will be next week already. It will be focused on land. So next week, Thursday, if you are interested in land and want to participate in a little bit of a longer training session, please do register through the email that you will get from us. Okay, the registration links, perhaps already skipping to the questions and answers. The registration links will be sent to you in emails as you've registered for this event. You will receive invitations for the next events as well. Okay, in terms of the questions, let's go ahead to some of the questions that have been asked throughout the webinar. One of the first questions was, what are the resources Wikio provides to researchers in the area of hydrology, forestry, and geology? For that, I would or recommend you to really look into what the different Copernicus services offer, because, for example, so all of the data and information from the Copernicus services and Copernicus Sentinel satellites are available on the Wikio Dias. And some of the products that might be of interest to you are information on lakes, information on different forest types from the Copernicus Land Monitoring Service, information on land cover, land use. So there's quite a bit of information available. So go ahead and play around and check out the different products. There's a very big catalog. Also in the previous webinar, which is recorded on YouTube, there has been a more detailed introduction to which products and services are available on the Wikio Dias, if you want to check that out. For the next question, how do you download several images in a batch process for performing object detection? Like, for example, very ambitious 500 to 600 Sentinel images. Perhaps I will leave Amin to answer that question.
Okay, so you want to download several images for object detection. So this is possible with the Jupyter notebook and the Jupyter Lab, as I showed you, but I think that it will require some Python coding. It is possible, but it has to be done. You can send us a message to the support if you have issues creating this script, but it will actually involve playing with the data descriptor, because you have this time slot where you can choose the time of the sensing, but you can play it in a variable and use this variable afterwards to download in a for loop, for example, the different images one after the other. So it is possible. It is theoretically possible, but I think that it will require doing some Python coding. If you can do it by yourself, it's cool. If you have issues with it, we can actually help you with this script if you send us a message to the support@wekeo.eu. So that's all I can say for this question now.
Thank you, Amin. Perhaps stay on the line, because the second question is it possible to download the time series of data, for example, sea surface level, for a single point location defined by specific coordinates? Okay,
so this looks like the other question. So you have the region that is selected that is the same, so the single point location you're talking about, but you need many sensing times that are different. So that's the same answer as for the first question. You have this data descriptor that contains the region selection, but also the time of the sensing. That allows you to narrow the results. So once you have targeted one single location, for example, if it is Sentinel-2, even if I think you do not use Sentinel-2 here, you have this single point location, and you need to change the dates. And these dates can be stored in a variable, the sensing start and sensing stop. So you can select one product after the other and play the document that I showed you in a single script, in a single code cell, and download all the images one after the other. But I would advise you to do that on the virtual machine and not on the Jupyter notebook. And this goes for the other questions also, because the Jupyter environment has a limited storage facility, whereas with the virtual machine, especially if you ask for big storage data, for big data storage, which is possible. It depends on the type of the virtual machine that you will ask for. You can actually store a lot of the data, even if it's big. So that's what I would advise you to do. And really do not hesitate to send us a message. We will be very happy to help you on this task. So I see that many users asked quite the same question. We will be very happy to show you how to do this, and maybe talk about this in a next webinar if a lot of people are interested in this option.
Thank you. We have another question. Does the Sentinel data cover the West African coastline?
Yes, Sentinel data, they cover the whole planet actually. So the West African coastline will be covered also.
Yeah, that's the feedback.
Thank you.
And then the third question is, what are the options of cloud storage that you provide? Yes,
the cloud storage service. So it depends on the virtual machine that you choose. You have many options of cloud storage services. I would refer you to the pricing section of the WEkEO website, which contains for each plan the storage service that is associated to it, and so it is different depending on the virtual machine that you choose, but you have a large choice.
Thank you. The next question is so perhaps we go to one of the other questions. Can I one of the latest questions that was uploaded was, can I use Sentinel data to analyze soil moisture, and if it's possible, how can I go about it?
Soil moisture. I am not an expert on soil moisture, so I don't know if I can actually answer this question. But if you have any doubts, really just send us a message, and I will transfer the tickets to some experts on land or soil, and you will get your answer very quickly.
So another question is to really extend the computing jobs that beyond a single virtual machine. Is there any offer of Kubernetes FAS or similar models?
Well, actually, once the virtual machine resources have been offered to you, you can do whatever you want with these resources. You can create many instances of the virtual machine and connect them the way you want. but it's not just a single instance that we offer. If we offer you, for example, I don't know, 4 CPUs and 500 gigabytes of memory, you can use these resources to play around with them and create as many virtual machines that as you want.
Perhaps as a final question, as I don't see any more questions in the chat, is will you upload this webinar to your YouTube channel? Yes, indeed. So this webinar is being recorded, and we will upload it to our YouTube channel after this, after the end of this session. I want to thank you all very much for attending today, for your time, for your attention, and I hope we inspired you to get started with the WEkEO Dias. As always, if you still have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. And we hope to see you either at the training session next week or on the 4th of February in our next event on ocean color. Thank you very much.